Park Hill was just a beautiful community with a lot of problems. It is, man, you never know what sparks the flame that's gonna burn down the whole project. But when it happens and shit, you want to be one of the people gathering the water to put the fire out.
Police operator 174.
Yeah, 160 Park Hill, Staten Island, New York. They're running with guns in front of the building.
160 Park Hill Avenue in Staten Island. Police operator 026.
Okay, excuse me. Somebody got shot in Park Hill Avenue. 141 Park Hill Avenue.
Sure it's not 160 Park Hill Avenue?
It's 18. 140, 160.
Did you see who shot him?
No.
Okay, they'll be there. Thank you.
Okay.
You want to leave your name?
No.
Did you?
My name is Herman Dawson. My brother's name was Michael Dawson, NEM. We grew up in Park Hill. Early 80s, somewhere around there. Park Hill had two different dynamics. Growing up there, I called it home. You know, I lived a lot of different places on Staten Island, but Park Hill was the one I called home. And even though a lot of violence and a lot of death going on in Park Hill for many, many years, if you were from Park Hill, you were relatively safe. You felt, this is my neighborhood. And, you know, I walked those blocks. Met the people in there. I've had friends in there. And I literally felt safe in Park Hill, even though the violence was going around because I was from Park Hill.
You know, Nem was always a smooth dude, a little light-skinned, pretty boy. All the girls like him, you know. But he lived on the outskirts of Park Hill. You know, so you could, if it's always questionable if you live in a house across the street from the hood, it's like you outside. So it's just the weirdest thing. But you know, he lived up the block from the hill, but he grew up in the hood. Him and his brother, always good dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Nem was always around. Nem again, fly dude, funny dude, hilarious, make you laugh all fucking day, man. Cunning, slick. Everything, you know, just a fly individual, you know what I mean? And, you know, he met a tragic end like so many others that fall prey to the system that's geared to keep us at the bottom.
Let's be clear. My brother wasn't a gangster. He wasn't about going out there. Like I said, certain people do this because they have to. My brother didn't have to do this. That's one of the reasons I'm able to sit here for you today and was able to pull myself, because I didn't have to do it. My mom was able to set up a certain way. I didn't have to. My brother chose this path. But I think he chose it because he actually lost hope. He got jammed up and got locked up. I think it was a weapons charge. He did about a year in jail. He came out and he got a job. He swore, I'm never gonna go back to the streets. One of his buddies he was out there running with before he got locked up had also been locked up at the same time at the same jail. They both came out around the same time. They got jobs. They literally got jobs, and he worked at Roy Rogers. He went out there, he worked overtime, he became employee of the month, and he would come home, bring chicken I guess they couldn't sell, bring it on, we'd all sit down and we'd eat at the kitchen table. And he had his life together for a good 3 months or so. He stayed away from the streets because he kept himself busy working. And his probation officer, or parole officer at the time, said, well, after he met with him, did you tell him that you were a convicted felon? And my brother's response was, they never asked. In the application, they never asked him whether he was a convicted felon, so he never filled it out. Meanwhile, he was literally, we went to the store, my mom, our entire family, and saw his picture on the wall, employee of the month, because he worked really hard at it. This was his ticket to getting his life out of that. And his parole officer said, well, if you don't tell him, I will. So he literally went to the manager with my mom and told him, listen, I was convicted of a felony. Back then, the application never asked whether I was, so I didn't lie on the application or whatever it is. And this job has helped me change my life, and that's when I want to continue to work. And they fired him. They thanked him for his service. They said they thought he was a great employee, but they can't have someone that had a convicted felon working there. And he lost that job. He never got another job again. I watched him depressed, walking around, trying to apply for jobs, no one giving it to him. And then he went back to the streets.
Brothers from different wombs greet with bear hugs of grizzly. Hand slap, stamp the bond, hip hop spinning daily. Energy live, cramped apartment, service studios. Without this, we dead walking, so we stay making sound forever living.
He used to write NEMS, that was his graffiti name, N-E-M-S. I knew that he was from Park Hill. I didn't know that he was raised in a house, but I always considered him to be a Park Hill dude because he always ran with those dudes.
I remember we always used to go to NEM's crib and just chill. His family was super cool with us. And NEM, you could tell he always had a big heart. Like, NEM was the type of dude where he just wanted to have fun. In the community, I guess everybody, felt like, yo, he was a man of respect, But NEM on the low, NEM was a smart. He knew how to save money. You know what I mean? And I think that was something that niggas loved about him, is that he wasn't a flasher, a flabbergaster. You know what I mean? He just knew how to do certain things that he felt that he was holding his own on.
Well, it was no secret. My brother sold drugs, no secret, except to my mother. Whatever. My mother didn't want to believe it, so she was always in denial. But everyone knew it. I knew it. And one of the crazy things is that around about 1990, I had a daughter, and she was young, and my brother was still dealing with drugs and whatnot. So around 94, around the time, she started getting more involved. And I told my mother at some point, listen, I have a daughter now. I can't have my daughter coming over to your house as long as my brother lived there, because I don't want to put her at risk, because it was just getting too violent, and I didn't want to see anything happen that could be negatively impact my family like that. She didn't believe me. She's like, he's not selling drugs. I said, okay. So I went up to his room, pulled out a bunch of crack vials. I mean, a huge bundle of crack vials. Bring it downstairs and said, what is he doing with this if he's not selling drugs? I don't know. I'm going to talk to him about that. So she finally talks to him. My brother, the last thing he wanted to do was bring any risk or danger to the house. And he knew that. So he moved out without a problem. And that was the beginning of a lot of stress for my family, because when he moved out, probably within 2 weeks of moving out is when he got killed.
I remember, unfortunately, I was painting the Can It Be All So Simple wall in the summer of 1994, literally. And Nims had come up to talk to me as I was painting the wall. We had a brief conversation. He said how much he liked everything. So I went back to painting the wall, gave Mike a hug, and he had this green Mercedes-Benz, and I don't know if it was a 190, it might have been a 190 with green tinted windows, if you can imagine that. And all I heard was, boom! And I turned around. It was one brother of four. And he had punched through the window, and Mike had put the car in drive and sped off. This guy that punched through the window, he was yelling, that's right, you better go home and get yours before I get mine. That's what he said, and I just said, oh, wow. He walked up the block, and Nim sped around the corner. I kept painting. I don't remember if it was later on that night or if it was the next day, because it took me about 4 days in succession to paint that wall. But Nims came back to the same exact spot. And the way that I would analogize that, Mike was really hurt and he was upset. And I saw him, I put my arm around him, I put my cans down, I put my arm around him. I said, Mike, you okay? And he was just like, you know, he just kept saying, I bet it won't happen again. I bet that won't happen again. He kept, and I told him, I said, Mike, please leave that alone, bro. Just leave it alone, because I knew that the people that he was, or the person that he was having an argument with, most likely where that was gonna go.
The version that I got was there was some kind of beef in the building, inside the lobby, between my brother and two of the brothers. One of them goes out the building. My brother's still talking to them, and at some point, my brother leaves out of the building. And when he leaves out of the building, the other brother went out around the side of the building, and they like ambushed him in front. So they came from like multiple angles and ambushed him in front of the building when they killed him. Sat right with me, because I never understood what prompted that, because there was a level of coordination, at least it appeared to be, and from what the story versions I've been getting, it was coordinated. It wasn't like a spur of the moment, something happened and popped off and they did what they did. One of the brothers shot at him, that's one thing, but when you have all three of them simultaneously shooting at him from different angles, you can't help but to believe that it was planned or some kind of coordinated effort. Now, what reason for it or why it happened, I don't know. I never really was able to get that deep into why it happened, but I feel pretty confident on what happened.
But we was lost for words, man, you know what I mean? It got to the point where it was like, damn, like, you know, we all going at each other like that, like, is that's what this is about? You know what I mean? Like, you know, but one thing about, you know, the Four Devils itself, it's always gonna make its way in a lot of people's hearts and minds if they feel like they're not where they at.
Well, that day I was at work. I'm an attorney. I graduated law school in '93. And I worked as a delinquency prosecutor for the city of New York. So in my mind, I'm doing some good for my community, because I get to weigh the balances, who gets prosecuted, who doesn't get prosecuted, and make sure that the same judgments that I used for people not from my community, from other communities, are being extended to people that look like me. So essentially I wore the white hat and got the right to do the right things. So we get to the hospital, Bailey Seton. I asked my brother, they tell me, well, if you're a family member, I tell them I was, and they say, go in the back. So I go through two doors and I see everybody along the wall just crying. I'm still not putting it together yet, because I can't wrap my head around that my brother's no longer here. I'm just thinking he got shot, they're being emotional about it, but never thought that anything really happened. Then my grandmother steps off the wall, because she was there. I see my cousin and a couple of other people, about 10 people back there. My grandmother steps on the wall and she just yells out to me, he's dead. And when she did that, time stopped. It just stopped, everything, sound washed out. And it took me it seemed like forever, but I'm sure it was about 5 or 6 seconds for that to sink in. And then I snapped out of it, and my next response was, where's my mother at? Because I know she had been notified and she was on her way to the hospital. And I did not want her to find out someone stumping off the wall saying he's dead. That's just not gonna work. So I'm going down the hall, where's my mother, where's my mother? Everyone gets quiet, because my brother brought a lot of people to the house. A lot of people knew my mom. They would call her mom. And it was something else. I turn around, she comes through the door, and she says, just like me, "Where's Mike?" Nonchalant, like, okay, you know, this is not gonna be, she is under the impression he was okay. So I walked up to her and, you know, I told her he didn't make it. And she just collapsed. Now, people say, well, what's the hardest thing you ever had to deal with? The hardest thing wasn't dealing with my brother's death, okay? The hardest thing was telling my mother that he was no longer with us. She was never the same after that.
My son, June 1994. I asked the Lord 1,000 times why my son's life had been taken. I asked the Lord what wrong I did, for my soul he had forsaken. I asked, why not I? I lived my life, yet my son had yet to live. My son had so much more to give. His love, his warmth, his inner soul, his laughter from within. And yet, I cannot understand, for it ended before it could begin. So I lie here, Lord, night after night, and contemplate my quest. For somehow, Lord, I need to feel that ye knew what was best. So I'll ask the question 1,000 more times. Why was my son's life taken? And hoping that thee shall answer me, so I may shed this feeling of being forsaken.
The reality of it is that you're usually not hurt or robbed or killed or murdered or whatever it is by someone you don't know. Statistically, it's people you do know. And I know that firsthand because I was a prosecutor for a number of years. And you see it happen where this guy, they say the friends, they're fighting and they kill him. And you're like, well, they were friends. It happens because the emotions are raw and you're being driven by emotion. When you don't know somebody, you don't get emotional when you're robbing them. So I don't have to do this. But when you feel someone wronged you because of a woman, because of money, because of a certain level of disrespect, now your ego gets involved and it becomes personal and you do stuff that you shouldn't do.
There are people that are walking around with that kind of mindset and hatred in their hearts just because they're not where they want to be, where they could be. There are some people that have missed out on some things that they feel should have elevated them and jettisoned them out of the conditions that they hate to live in. So they're walking around with a chip on their shoulder, and what else do they have to lose? Some people feel like they have nothing to lose, and that's not a game that you can win. It's worse than a kamikaze, because a kamikaze will take your life and his life, but this person will take your life and live to brag about it when you're in the ground.
I get it if it was someone outside the neighborhood, but you knew my brother, and whatever transpired, whatever it is that transpired, didn't have to end like that. That's something that, it didn't have to end like that. So of course, coming from that neighborhood and feeling the way I felt, I had to conduct my own investigation. I went out the following day and night, talking to people, and I had certain access to things, being involved in law enforcement, that helped me narrow down what I was doing. I was able to get my hands on the 911 tapes. So I heard the people calling in the calls, and I recognized some of the voices.
Police operator 2026. Hello? Listen, hello? Hello? Somebody got shot. Hurry up! Hurry up, man! Hurry up! About 141 Park Hill, hurry can't understand what you're saying when you're yelling.
Could you call EMS, please? Somebody just got hit.
What is the address?
141 Park Hill, right front of 160, please. Could you hurry up?
This is the Oscar and Roof.
This is in Park Hill 141, in front of 160.
Did you see who shot him?
No, could you call
Hello.
EMS, please.
Do you know where he shot at?
He's right on the side of 141. Could you call
Do you know what part of the body he is shot at?
In the back, please. Could you hurry up, please?
Did you see the person that did this?
No.
Hold on to EMS.
I mean, the idea of not being a snitch in the neighborhood it's real. It runs deep. It will get you killed. And I'm not saying that just the cliche. It will get you killed.
Nobody wants to involve themselves with the police until they need the police for themselves. And I always tell people, how about if it was your child, your husband, your family that got murdered, and somebody saw it and didn't say anything? See, now the shoe's on the other foot.
It's not a matter of it could. If you're labeled as a snitch and you snitch or talk to the wrong person about what transpired in the street, not only you, your family may be put at risk.
Do I think it's right? I think it's wrong. It's 100% wrong. But I gotta protect myself. I gotta protect my mom, my dad, my sisters, my children, my nieces, my nephew. Because if they can't get to you, they're gonna get to anything that closest to you. So the rules in the street, you don't talk and you don't tell. You mind your business. It's sad. It's sad.
I've spoken to people that were present at the time my brother was shot, who witnessed it. I heard the 911 tapes. I know the voice on it. I approached them. Yeah, I was there, but you know I can't say anything. They will kill me. I knew someone else that was present. I was there. I saw what happened. I almost begged him, listen, you can go to the police. And I said, there's witness protection. He said, bro, you think really I'm gonna pack up my family and go live somewhere else, change my name and all of that because I witnessed the murder of your brother? And then I realized what I'm asking him to do, to uproot your whole life for something that really says, you know. And there was circumstances out there that gave rise to this. No one told my brother to be out there dealing drugs. There was a level of risk that he assumed while doing this. And I get it. My mom passed away in 2009. This case didn't go, I didn't get contacted by the FBI until 2014. So at the time of her death, there was no leads, there was nothing. The investigation was done. The only reason why these guys were brought to justice, as far as I know, is that one of the people that my brother was dealing drugs with got caught up on a larger rap. It might have had 3 strikes, you're out, out of no circumstance. And he said, listen, if I give you the murder, can we do something with this time I'm looking at? And he gave him the murder. If it hadn't been for that, and listen, as a prosecutor, I hated plea bargains. I hated it. You did something and you did X, Y, and Z. Now I'm supposed to plead it out to this, that, and the third. And you basically walk away, and this causes this cycle for people to continue to get involved in stuff because there's no consequences. But had they not plea bargained, these 3 murderers would still be on the street doing it to somebody else. So I get it. It starts to click again. A lot of this stuff is all arm's length away. It's all business. But when you start seeing it, it starts touching home and it's personal, it starts to click. I get it. So he got jammed up. He says, listen, I'll give you this murder in 1994. You do something on my sentence over here. They work out whatever deal it is. 3 murderers are off the street. So, you know, it was a straight business transaction. I'm sure he didn't have any love for my brother. I'm sure he did, but it wasn't that type of love that I felt for my brother. My brother, it was part of the game. You know, he was present when my brother passed away. You know, he kept silent about it. The people that did it, he kept silent about it. But again, when it benefited him, he spoke up. And the reality of it is, there's no, you know, even though you may think you have friends on the street, it's hard because friends turn on each other when it comes. Money's involved, women are involved. The people you call friends aren't necessarily your friends, they're out for themselves.
That's why it hurts so much when good people meet a tragic end. They say the good die young. There's some validity to that right there, man. Because I've seen a lot of good die way too young.
It's all about how you raise, man. It's like, if you ain't raised with certain principles, you can fall victim to a lot of shit to where you don't see clear. You know what I mean? You start doing stupid shit. You start doing shit and not even thinking about what you're doing before you do it.
This is the hard iron, stone, cold-hearted facts about living in the hood. At any given time, something could change, and people that you thought might be your friends, and that could go out the window. So, you know, you got love, but yet you always kind of got to walk on eggshells and hope the eggshells ain't glass. You know what I'm saying? Because it might do more than make some sound. It might cut you.
Her love for that neighborhood and her love not to want to see anyone else get hurt, and her asking me to get that weapon off the street, and my ability to do that, I believe, played an intricate role in getting these guys prosecuted, not for the other crimes they did, but specifically for my brother's death. Because again, had there not been a connection between, or someone to corroborate that weapon was on the scene, and that I recovered that weapon from someone who claims to have been present, there's no credibility necessarily to that. He's looking at an extensive period of time in jail. He all of a sudden, after 20 years, wants to come back and say, I'll tell you who killed Michael Dawson in 1994, but you got to do something for my case. Okay, he gives his story. Well, how do I connect the dots? I was a prosecutor. I knew what those prosecutors needed. It wasn't about, and understand, I just started practicing law in 1993. Here we are at 2014. I wasn't just a junior lawyer at that point. I'm a senior lawyer. I know the game. I know how the prosecution needs to operate. And I know from my analysis that if they can't connect that weapon to that scene, which they were able to do because they had gun casings, but that doesn't lend any credibility to the person saying, well, I know what happened. Because everyone saw what happened when they looking at doing life in prison. I'll tell you anything you want to hear. How do I lend credibility to that witness? I personally, not third party, not hearsay, I personally purchased that weapon from that man who was present at the time of the scene because he got the weapon. So now if he got the weapon and they can connect it that the weapon, that particular weapon he had came from that scene, it lends credibility to what he was saying. So her love for the community helped hold these guys accountable. Not hate, not revenge, not wanting to get them back. Her love for the community. And that's what I communicated to her. And that's the only closure I guess I could have gave her. Because if she wanted it done, she'd rather do, one thing she would always say is you can't heal hate with hate. The only thing that'll heal hate is love. And her love for the community is what held these people accountable.
Well, I mean, they went to jail. I mean, I guess you can call it justice, but at the end of the day, it ain't bringing my brother back. And all the other people that were murdered on Park Hill Avenue, they're not coming back. So there's only justices. Can you really ever hold someone accountable for somebody's death by sending them to jail? I mean, you'll never bring them back, and it doesn't heal the pain that you have. I mean, I know a lot of people talk about closure and you want to see justice done, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have my brother back more than anything else. Let these guys be free. I don't care if I can have my brother back, and that's something they can't do. And so, when they say justice, I'm not clear. I'll ever feel whole again, no matter what happens to these dudes. All right, and at this point, I don't have any animosity toward them. They did what they did. It is what it is. They've been held accountable for it. It took me a long time to get there, though.
All in all, Park Hill was, and still is, just a beautiful community, man, with a lot of problems.
I left out almost 20-something years ago, never to return. And I drive through. I have an address out here, but I spend most of my time somewhere else. It just needs a lot of open scars, you know. And it's not just my brother. It's a lot of people I lost out there, and it's, you know. You want to leave that behind.